Hey guys, in my last video, I did a quick first impressions on how I think Vanguard is going to impact the meta based on early data from Carnix and kind of my speculation based on experience. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. So I had a whole bunch of extra footage from the last video because I went off on a bit of a tangent. I started talking about my ranking and some of the matchups that I saw in my most recent tournaments. A couple of the Vanguard characters were in there, so I thought it would be relevant, but it was a bit too long, so I decided to cut all of it and put it in a part 2. So in this video, I'm just going to do a quick ranking recap and a quick matchup recap, some of them Vanguard related. So enjoy. All right, so we've gone to 2 tournaments so far, and we placed 2 out of 18 on the first one, and then 1 out of 16 on the second one, putting me in number 1 of Northeast so far, number 11 in USA, and number 17 global. These are very preliminary rankings. This ain't gonna last long because right now, not everybody has 3 tournaments under their belts yet. I only have 2. I think you gotta wait until everybody has at least 3, and then you'll see the rankings kind of mellow out and go up and down, and you'll start to see that the bigger tournaments are going to affect the rankings, because right now these tournaments that I did rank good at maybe place me high now, but if I'm not going to tournaments that are getting 24, 25, 30 people, I'm probably going to drop in rank. But if I get first at even a slightly big tournament and maintain 3 first placements, then hopefully we at least land in the top 10 for states. So that's kind of the goal for this season. I think I was top 10 in the Northeast last season, but I want to be top 10 in the USA this season. So let's see if we can make that happen. And you can kind of see my characters are, I'll flash up last season's characters too. I basically played the same 3 or 4 characters throughout, with additional character of Gambit this time. If you guys know me in person, you'll know that typically I like to play those slower characters that either have an element of control, rather it's controlling the pace of the game, or controlling what your opponent can or can't do, or just kind of being able to control the amount of cards that you're seeing, so you have all the options that you can play. That's just the kind of player that I am. I don't normally gravitate towards aggro. So I learned something about myself in the way I approach characters. I like to play characters that do maybe, I don't want to say spam the same move over and over again, but you'll know what I mean. Like, for example, Shadow Thief, you'll do Cardcopia, Pickpocket, you're going to be gaining your combat points, gaining a bunch of cards. Raveness is going to be gaining her feathers and then kind of dictating what Nevermore does. And what these characters have in common is that you do the same move, get a bunch of your resources, and then what you do with those resources, that decision making is where I experience the most fun in the game. I'm not just rolling a move and attacking and then that's it. It's more like I get a bunch of stuff. How can I use this in the current matchup, current game state that I am playing? And that gives me the most fun, and it's also relatively good in the meta too. That being said, most control characters are slow, which means they have to watch out for aggro. So I wanted to branch out a little bit, and I started playing Gambit. I chose Gambit as my aggro character because he kind of fits that mold of roll the same move over and over again. Sleight of hand! And you get a bunch of his, he accelerates his ace cards. They look like popcorn, these little popcorns. He accelerates his aces, and then you get to choose how you want to use these aces. Do I want to heal? Do I want to do extra damage? How do I line these up with the attacks that I'm rolling? It's a little bit of decision making, slightly complex in the sense that, yes, he kind of has a straight path of what he wants to do, but how you choose to do it and how quickly you're able to do it, it can affect how the game goes. And he also has some moves that lets him gain a little bit of economy and card draw too, depending on the matchup. You gain your dissolutions, you can heal, you can remove status effects from yourself, negative status effects only. Learned that the hard way. You can't remove Hex. Part of the reason I wanted to play Gambit was to have a counter for Raveness, but you can't remove the Hex, unfortunately. But you can still heal, and you can still beat down before she can really get where she needs to go. But if she gets Foul Friend upgrade, then good luck. Good luck to any character. Going back to my 3 characters here, Shadow Thief, Raveness, and Gambit, you might think that Shadow Thief, well, a new player sitting in front of me might look at the lineup and think, oh, Shadow Thief is probably the ban bait. Let me either ban Shadow Thief or we'll ban Raveness, and now this player has to play Shadow Thief because he probably wanted to play Raveness. Well, Shadow Thief is actually my main, and I love playing Shadow Thief, so Raveness is the ban bait. But I also really like playing Raveness. You want to put yourself in a situation when you're able to play the best characters that, at your comfort level too. So I really enjoy playing control characters, and when Raveness came out, great. Now I have two ways to play control characters, and surprisingly, Raveness was banned way more than Shadow Thief, which people are probably going to catch on now and ban my Shadow Thief when they sit across from me. I know a few guys are just, they don't even care who other characters I bring. They see Shadow Thief and they just ban them. So that being said, it's probably good to take a look at the one loss that I had. So the one loss that I had with Raveness was going to be against Black Widow. And, Black Widow is good, very good, probably considered one of the best characters now by most. And I can see how she got there. Similarly to characters that, they do a slow game and they need to build up, you kind of know what she's going to do and you should be able to play around it properly. This game that I lost was recorded, so I'll be uploading it eventually. But the gist of it is I had a lead for most of the game. Raveness opening up Foul Friend, fantastic. Black Widow upgraded her defense. I was able to kind of chip away at her without her being able to use any agility, so she was losing value there. But we were both playing kind of too much into time, and we got to a point where Black Widow was able to get to that state, and I wasn't able to pressure enough because I had leaned a bit too hard into Foul Friend, thinking, oh yeah, let me get my resources and let me pressure. But then time ran out, and Black Widow was the last turn, so she was just going to go, okay, well, I'm just going to do, what's it called? Widow's Gauntlet, and hit you for, I think she hit me for like 14 damage there, and it brought me down just enough to where I lost in time. So, gotta remember that once in a while you may lose in these circumstances because you're playing these slow characters. I have reflected a little bit. I don't think I played poorly with Raveness. I do think that maybe I should have picked Gambit and rushed down Black Widow before she can build up to that state that she was in. I want to quickly go over some of the matchups that I saw. My first two games of the season were both against Forge Master, and that kind of lines up with what we're seeing on Carnix. Forge Master is probably the most popular out of the new heroes, and this was a good learning experience for me because I have not played against Forge Master before in a competitive setting, so it was nice to see kind of what he can do. And lo and behold, in both of these games, which I did record and you will see soon, Forge Master essentially drew into his Ultimanium or right off the bat. Not only I'm facing a matchup that I'm not used to, I'm facing him probably at his best because usually he has to kind of dig for that ore and upgrade everything, but he basically started with that right away, so it turned into a huge race between Shadow Thief and Forge Master. Luckily for me though, Shadow Thief is a character that thrives off information. Forge Master has no surprises in his deck. And when he mines, he places them in front of you. So you know exactly what Forge Master is doing at all times. And you know what the threats. Like, he has no attack modifiers. He has nothing that's going to make his attacks undefendable randomly. His only form of mitigation is on his board. It's the helmet, and not this time, So there's literally no surprises with Forge Master. So in that sense, I didn't have too big of a problem with Shadow Thief as long as I kept up and didn't like dilly-daddle with my cards and do random stuff when I should have been, applying a bit of pressure. I was able to take both those games. And another one of the Vanguard that we saw was Sun Elf. Sun Elf, this one I recorded too, was a pretty fun one. Sun Elf was, without spoiling too much of the future video, she does what she does, but I don't think she does what she does enough to I don't know how to put it. It feels like she's a character that wants to stall and build up, but she doesn't build up into anything. So she just kind of heals and maybe does some big damage here and there, but then she's spending multiple turns healing, and she's not like she's gaining more cards or anything. So going Gambit into Sun Elf, you just keep pressuring her. She'll heal and she's not doing damage back, and you just kind of get her health down. She's stalling and, drawing cards normally, but then so are you, so you're kind of both just drawing cards while outputting more damage, so it ended up in my favor there. getting a better idea of how Sun Elf works. I play against this person a lot. He's a very good player, and so I got to learn by just playing with him. Very fun game. Can't wait to do that one. And then nothing too new from all the other ones. Raveness into Barbarian. You know, Raveness can hex Barbarian 6s. Raveness can avoid Barbarian's defense, so he's not healing. I also started with Foul Friend upgrades, so it was kind of a wrap already. Not to mention the Barbarian player that I went up against was having a very unlucky day with his rolls. Barbarian just was not giving him anything but basic attack for half the games. It was kind of sad. And again, you might see that one on video too. Something I want to say that's pretty interesting is Psylocke. So Psylocke is largely seen as a character that came with the tools almost with an idea to counter the meta. She has tokens that lets you make you or your opponent reroll their defensive die, and she can make it so you don't gain status effects, which if you think about it, a lot of the top characters in the game, they have really good status effects. You know, Paladin, Shadow Thief, maybe even Raveness. You know, no more Foul Friend. You can't gain them, so it's pretty interesting. But I don't think she has the damage numbers to kind of back that up, or the economy to kind of come back from a control perspective. So I was able to take that game with Shadow Thief, even though there were some moments where her agilities went off. I rolled a natural shadows on defense, which doesn't happen that often, but she made me re-roll that die, so I got hit anyways, which is a little bit of pressure that other characters might not be able to do. I don't know. I think I have a slightly better respect for Psylocke too. I think she's pretty cool with what she does. I don't think she has the damage numbers to back up her tools. Unless you're getting really lucky, you're not really going to be able to close out the game. Like, the character you're trying to control is going to end up out controlling you eventually. And that's kind of what I felt playing into this one. I see a lot of Pale Lady. I know Pale Lady going into the meta too is she also, when I first saw her release, I thought she had the tools to counter the meta, because, you know, a lot of the meta have really good defenses, and Pale Lady, once she flips, she can do, her basic attack is undefendable. So, and she has 2 or 3 other undefendable attacks on her board, which are really good. But then I think what holds her back is the fact that you are at the mercy of the cards in your hand, because Pale Lady could be stuck with a bunch of werewolf cards and she just can't use them, or you're a werewolf and you don't have the werewolf cards and you have only the Pale Lady cards. Also, when you're Pale Lady, you're probably not really attacking too much, and you're relying on your opponent to hit you so you can get moon shards on your defense while getting them on your offense, because Pale Lady wants to go to werewolf as fast as possible. If you're Pale Lady and you're going into Shadow Thief, or you're going into Raveness or something, maybe you roll something like the Cure to get your economy, get your shards, but then your opponent is not getting hit. So, you know, as Shadow Thief, I'm like, cool, you know, you can have your moon shard, I'll just draw a bunch of cards and then you can do something again. You gave me a free turn, essentially, and I'm also not going to hit your defense this turn, so you have to get the moon shards yourself. You're not going to get them off defense, which means you're probably going to go for that attack again, or you're going to go for a different attack that does smaller numbers just to get the moon shards. Meanwhile, I'm just drawing more cards, gaining more CP, and then I'm eventually going to get to a state where I can fight back. Raveness versus Ninja, this was a fun one for me. I've never actually done this matchup competitively before, but I have experimented with a friend of mine just to see how it would go. I think that it's definitely Raveness's favor in this matchup. You can hex the Ninja. The Ninja won't be able to roll for smoke screen, so she's not going to be able to get her smoke bomb. And if she does get her smoke bomb, you can just peck her with Foul Friend. And then when you draw into your removal, you can remove the smoke bomb for that turn and then do a bigger swing and then go back and forth between pecking, healing, controlling the Ninja. The Ninja has no economy, so you can make the Ninja discard a bunch of cards. Yeah, I think that was a good one to see, and it's kind of played out exactly the way that I thought it would play out. And then my last game with Shadow Thief versus Moon Elf. This person's a very experienced Moon Elf pilot, and kind of had me on the ropes for most of the game, I'm not gonna lie. Getting a lot of 6s, and if you play Moon Elf, you know that Moon Elf has a 6 climbing tree. If you see 1 or 2 6s, her board is basically set up for you to chase them. So eventually, if you're having a little bit of a lucky day, you're gonna get some ultimates, and that's exactly what happened. I had to really play from behind in this one. Was able to close out this game because, you know, Moon Elf is still Moon Elf. You know, no matter how lucky Moon Elf gets, the Shadow Thief will find a way to come back from it, as Shadow Thief does. I was able to cycle through my whole deck because Moon Elf had a really great start with the damage on board. She used all her attack modifiers, got an ultimate, kind of gassed out a little bit. I had 3 poisons on her. I was in that late state game and the poisons were taken away and I was able to stall until I cycled through my whole deck and got to play my good cards again.
All right, and there you have it. Again, these are very early speculations and very, very early games. People are still learning how to play the characters. The stats are probably inflated right now because the characters are so popular. Who knows? You might see some different things pop up in the future because when new characters come out, that also means some older characters get a chance to shine. So yeah, if you made it this far, let me know in the comments down below if there are any characters that pleasantly surprised you when you went up against them in a competitive setting for the first time. And on the next Upkeep phase, we'll resolve, refresh, and repeat.